What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Tony, and welcome to the TGS Football Channel, where we talk about football and maybe sometimes basketball if we get bored of football. But today we are looking at why Turkey, everyone's dark horse for the tournament, flopped so bad in Euro 2020. If you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like for more football content, and let's get into why Turkey flopped. So, Turkey were extremely disappointed to me, someone who's half Turkish. I was hoping to see a side that had showed a lot of promise in the qualifiers and the friendlies. I was hoping to see them really push on and at least get to the knockout stages of a tournament. And I wasn't the only person who really expected Turkey to do well. A lot of people had Turkey as their dark horses to, at least make a quarterfinals in this tournament, because if they did finish second in their group behind Italy, which was the expectation, they would have faced a Denmark or a Russia. Well, we know now it would have been Denmark in the next round, which is a favourable game for them. Personally, for me, my two dark horses were Turkey and Ukraine, both of which are looking like they're going to be out come the knockout stages. Ukraine have a slim chance of making it. But some people even had Turkey making the semi-finals, which was crazy. I mean, I know they were impressive in qualifying, they were impressive in the three friendlies, and it's important to note that to flop, you need to have some kind of expectation, to thingy. Because if you have no expectation, kind of like a team like Macedonia or Finland, any result is a good result. You score a goal, so it's a good result for them. Turkey, the reason everyone's reading into it so much, call them the worst team of the tournament, is because they had some expectation to do well and they seemingly crumbled under it. So before we get into the main reasons why they flopped, I think it's important to talk about real quick why they were considered a dark horse and what was considered so strong about this Turkey side going into the Euros. The first thing that a lot of people were complimenting them on was their defense. You have Soyuncu, who is a Premier League centre-back, and this season, probably one of the best centre-backs in the league. Won a FA Cup with Leicester. Very good in that game. He is very aggressive and likes to play on the front foot. He likes to step in. We'll get into the system I think they should have played later to really get the best out of him. But at times he was exposed because other defenders, they didn't seem to be on the same wavelength as him. Although he did really keep them in that Wales game for a while with some heroic defending. But we'll talk about that later. It's not only Soyuncu that they have in that defense. They have Demiral, Juventus, young centre-back. Zeki Çelik just won the league with Lille. That's a pretty solid defense. The left back position, they were using Marash. He's an okay left back. He doesn't play for anyone. I think he plays for Le Havre. He's solid, a very good defense. And another reason for that is they do play like almost three holding mids. One that is just there to play defense, whether it's Kuşlu or Ayhan. And then you have Tufan, who's pretty defensive too. You have a solid, line of wall of defenders there to try and keep you in the game. And I expected them to play more like a Sweden, which I guess they did want to play, but it's just that Isaac is a much better player than Burak Yilmaz, especially at holding the ball and countering. He actually has some pace. And that gets us into like the second reason people thought they would do good. They got a few stars dotted around the team. Obviously Soyuncu, the centre-back, very good. Yilmaz just had probably the best season of his career at 35, winning the league with Lille. You have Çalhanoğlu, who is like the talisman of the team, best player, number 10, technically gifted. I mean, if you watch his highlights, the man scoring free kicks from near the halfway line, you expect a lot out of him. Like I said, Demiral, Juventus centre-back, and then another one, Cengiz Ünder, still young, skillful winger. I know he didn't really feature at Leicester too much this year, but the guy still has talent, still very good. And of course, the final reason I think they were considered to be this dark horse was they got some pretty decent results in qualifying. They beat Netherlands in a friendly. They draw or beat France in the qualifiers, so they were doing real well. But without further ado, let's get into why they flopped. Now, when it comes to international football, there's only really two parties to blame: the players and the manager. I think they deserve equally the same amount of blame. I will say one thing I found really interesting, which might sound like a little bit of an excuse, but it's not. It's that the manager's the oldest manager in the entire tournament at 69, Şenol Güneş. He was actually the manager in Turkey's third place at the 2002 World Cup, which for Turkey was a big result. I was trying to research to see, is he one of those old managers who's stuck in his ways and doesn't adapt to modern football? Because we've seen that a lot with managers who were great in the 2000s absolutely flop when it comes to, the 2010s and now in the 2020s. I mean, Jose Mourinho might be the prime example of that. A man who has failed to adapt with football. And I was looking, and it turns out he's playing the same formation he did back in 2002, which was a little shocking. And he did do a lot of things which I'll talk about in a tiny bit that kind of reinforced my point that he was maybe a bit out of his depth managing this team. Although they had great results in qualifiers, it's not the same. At the oldest manager, they also had the youngest squad, and older managers tend to be more reserved, trying to keep a clean sheet, whatever. You know, that's kind of the old way of football. Younger players tend to want to play aggressively and attacking football. I just leave that out there. We're not going to go into too much depth about it. Let's talk about why they were so poor. So, first and foremost, the first thing to point out is defense. We all thought Turkey were going to be solid in defense. They conceded 8 goals. I think that's going to be the most of any team except Macedonia, who also conceded 8. The thing is, Macedonia are the worst team in the entire tournament. North Macedonia, I think they're the lowest ranked team. And they were expected to lose every game. I believe they even scored more goals than Turkey did, which is kind of shocking. I mean, the defense was porous. He chopped and changed it. You know, he switched the left back out for the last game. He dropped Demirel for the game 2, then subbed him on at half time in that game. Then again, started him in game 3. So Soyuncu was hit and miss. Against Wales, he was pretty good. Against Switzerland, he was terrible. Celik was getting toasted left, right, and centre by whoever was on the pitch. The defense was just not organized. It looked like this team wasn't prepared for the tournament. I mean, if you go to game 1 against Italy, they look unfit. They look confused at what they're doing. They don't have an out ball. There was no plan. Zero plan. It was absorb as much pressure as we can and clear the ball. Hope Burak Yilmaz can touch it down, hold it up, and wait for players to get out with him. And that was not the plan that was going to work, because I'll show you in a little bit. We're going to have a little look at the tactics in a minute. Burak Yilmaz becomes isolated and he just loses the ball. He can't do much with it. They also had, something that was surprising with me is, they also had no wingers. Except Cengiz Ünder, they have no wingers. I mean, their number 9, Karaman, I think he plays for like Sassuolo, does he? He plays for he plays for a random team. I can't remember who he plays for. He's a centre forward, playing as a right mid. Which was baffling to me. Players playing out of position. Like, you have Ünder. I know he hasn't played all year, but why are you using Karaman and Çalhanoğlu as wingers? Hakan, I'm going to call him Hakan because he's a cam. He's your best player. Why is he playing out of position? This is the question the manager asked to. Why is your best player playing as a left mid? And why is Ünder on the bench and you're using a striker as a right wing? That to me was baffling. It was almost like he had his system, the manager, and he was like, I'm going to try and fit them into my system instead of using a system that fits the players I have. Which was real poor from him in that sense. I think Turkey would have really benefited from a 5-back. You know, if you use Ayhan, who was kind of going CDM and getting isolated, and I'll show you on the tactics board in a minute what happened, but if you drop him into that centre-back spot where he plays, you have Soyuncu on the left, Demirel on the right, and then you have a 5-back, more solid, gives you some width. Because this team doesn't have much pace. The fullbacks are probably the fastest players in the team, because they have no wingers, they have no pace. The fullbacks were pinned back. Maybe if you can use Celik, I think he's more of an offensive fullback than a defensive fullback from what I've seen. Maybe that would have worked. And like I said, the only plan was clear it and hope Yilmaz could do something. Another thing I noticed was a lot of the better players, you know, Hakan, Ünder, Yilmaz, they didn't really seem very trusting in giving the ball to some of the other players on the pitch, which was a little shocking. Like, there were times where they could have played in a man out wide and they would shoot from range. It was very weird, or they would keep dribbling. I don't know if that was a lack of trust or they were greedy. I'm not too sure. I don't want to read too much into that. But it seemed like some of the stars were trying to be a little more selfish. I don't know if that's a lack of trust in the rest of the team or not. But those are the main reasons why Turkey was so poor. I mean, like, managerially it was all wrong, and the players didn't put in enough effort on the pitch. I'm sure they tried, but it wasn't good enough. So now we're going to go to the tactics board so I can explain a little bit of what they done wrong. Here is my little tactics board that we have here. We have the Italian team they played, and we have our Turkish starting 11 for game 1. This is how they set up. But really and truly, it's more of a 4-1-4-1. So you're looking at something like this on the defense. And a lot of the time, this CDM, these players are out of position or they're covering. and this CDM gets left isolated 2v1. So whether that was Barrea overlapping and Locatelli overlapping, especially against Switzerland, I think it was Ihan that was playing. He was getting absolutely overrun, having to do too much work, and that was leaving a lot of spaces in here. I believe almost all their goals, especially Shaqiri, had so much space here, he bends it in the top corner. They get pinned back because, you know, with Spinazzola coming up here and Florenzi also overlapping, that means Hakan and Karaman have to come back. And like I said, one's an attacking mid. He doesn't want to be out here. He wants to be in here. Karaman's a striker. These aren't defenders. That means Tufan and Yazici have to go across and help defend too, which again leaves more spaces. And with this whole Italian team, they all pushed forward to press, every single one of them, except Jorginho, Bonucci, and Chiellini. And even they would come and help overload. Jorginho was just here, mopping up any long balls, just passing, controlling the game. And Turkey couldn't get out, because if he did, Yilmaz was 1v3, because the players couldn't get up high enough. Now, it's easy to criticize. I've told you, I've just kind of explained the problems. One thing they could have done, in my opinion, if they didn't want to, you know, go to a 5-back, you go Tufan and your Kuşlu maybe, or Tufan and Ayhan, and you put Hakan here, and you find somebody to play out on the left wing. I would have definitely started Unda first. Yazici, he plays for Lille. He's an attacking mid. I think he could do better on the wing than Hakan. One thing they really should have done, in my opinion, is go like this. 5-back, this gives you the width. You take one of these players out, and you almost play like Chelsea. And you kind of use Hakan as your mount, Unda as your, like, Havertz or whoever. And then, I mean, Yilmaz holds it up. And I think that would have been a lot better, because then Çelik and Meraş, or Çelik and Mulder, who was actually very good when he came on in that last game, can actually get forward. I think it's just some food for thought for Turkey. That's just how I would have played. Hopefully that helped visualize some of the points I was talking about earlier. Anyway, that gets us down to how can Turkey improve. First and foremost, I think they should sack their coach. I know he's done great things in the past, but he seems a little out of date. He seems a little out of touch with modern football. Play 5 at the back. Do something. Do something. I think they need a modern coach. Identity. Get an identity for the team. Sweden know how they're going to play. France know how they're going to play. Germany know how they're going to play. England don't know how they're going to play. But that's beside the point. Get a modern coach who knows a bit more of the modern game, wants to go forward. Maybe it's time to move away from some of your older generation. I mean, in the last tournament, they did start moving away from some of those players. Maybe it is time for Burak Yilmaz to step aside. You know, you have Enes Ünal on the bench. Didn't get a minute. He's not a great player. He's not as good as we thought he would be once upon a time. He's a nice young player. Give him a chance. I believe he's still 24. And God damn, play Hakan Çalhanoğlu where he wants to play. Please. Play him as a cam. He's your best player. Let him do the damage. Like I said, I would have gone 5 back. Like if I was Turkey manager, I would have gone 5 at the back. Çelik and Mulder, who is a right back by the way, not a left back. Or Çelik and Meraş bombing forward on the wings. We get solid defensively with the 5 at the back. Then, you know, you can play players in the rightful position. Don't play them in the wrong position, because that messes you up. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all next time.